to North of 60. This is another COVID-19 edition, and you can see that we are filming outside today. My guest is Detective Tavis Campbell with the Hudson Police Department. I met Tavis back in October when he talked to a senior group that I was part of, and our subject today is scams, especially those related to those of us over 60. Tavis, it's nice to have you here. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Now, how long have you been with the police department?
I've been with the police department since 2008, so this is 12 years, and I'm approaching year number 20 just in law enforcement in general.
Wow, you look so young.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you.
And have you been a detective this whole time?
No, I've been in the detective bureau about a year, and before that I was primarily a night shift officer. So our night shift men and women work from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., and that was primarily my assignment.
Wow. This must be a little bit better in terms
brighter.
of
Yes,
having a normal life.
Yes.
Well, I was so interested in the things you talked about when you were very briefly in front of our Oktoberfest group, and I'd like to really hear from you what you see happening with seniors and scams in general. And I'm just going to let you talk,
Absolutely.
Tavis.
Well, thank you very much, Heidi. So it's very important for people to understand the reason people are targeted for scams. And I think the number thing to realize, especially for the crowd that's 60 and over, is that for the age 50 and above, you own 83% of our nation's wealth. And that's very important to know, because if you're a scammer, you're a person that's looking to deprive somebody of their hard-earned money, they're not going to go for the 17% that doesn't have the money. They're going to go for the 83% because that's a better chance of getting a payday on a scam. So that's why the scammers are targeting people 60 and older, more specifically 50 and older, for no other reason other than that's
Really?
the best chance to get a payday. The 50 and older were raised differently too. So younger, we're a little bit more paranoid. We were raised in technology. The older generations were taught to be courteous, be trusting. When somebody calls, you answer the phone. That's the right thing to do.
That's right.
And that's another reason that they're targeting this generation, these ages 60 and up. But I did kind of go through our top 10 scams nationwide and what people should be kind of aware of. The number one scam is an impersonation scam. And it usually goes something based on your social security number. They'll say something along the line of your social security number has been compromised, or it's been used as part of identity theft, or your social security benefits are going to be suspended unless you do this. These scammers, they want you to make a quick decision, and they want you to be intimidated. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to slow down. You can listen. You can even be courteous. But you're not going to do anything quick, and you're going to take your time, and you're going to validate what they say. So if they're threatening that your social security is going to be taken away, grab your social security statement and say, okay, well, I'm going to call that number on there. And that's who you call. You don't listen to that person on the phone. You take your time and you slow down. The next one is actually spoofing or robocalls. Nowadays with computers and cell phones, people can actually make their phone number, when they dial you, look like it's a legitimate number, like the IRS. Or
an actual business, it can say on caller ID IRS.
It can say IRS.
Oh
it can
my
say
God, I
Sheriff's
never knew
Office.
that.
Yep, it can say the U.S. Postal Service. They can make up whatever. So just because it says it on your phone or your caller ID, again, we just don't want to trust. And being that trusting generation, sometimes you have to get over that, and you have to say, okay, well, that's kind of strange. I've never in my entire life got a call from the IRS, so why today would I get a call from the IRS? So something that you actually have to understand is that they can spoof these numbers, and it's very easy to do.
Let me ask a question. The caller ID would say the number, and even the area code where the IRS might be located or something, they can, but then if you were to call it back, of course, there'd be.
Correct. It would not. If it's the correct number to the IRS, you're going to get the IRS.
Right.
But understand, the IRS does not
make phone
call
calls.
people.
Yes.
Period. There's never been a documented case of an IRS agent coming out and telling us, oh, we need to go arrest somebody for whatever reason. They don't call, they send you mail.
Yes. Okay.
So the next one is number 3, and these are nationwide. These are going from most probable all the way down to the one we get the least complaints about, is a sweepstakes or a lottery scam. And the way that works is they're going to send an email, they're going to call you, and they're going to tell you that it's so great you just won this wonderful amount of money that's just going to make your life so much easier, and I'm going to make your family's lives great. And it is a really good sales pitch, but there's a processing fee. And this processing fee needs to be paid to me so I can give you the money. So as soon as somebody says, I've got something for you, but you have to pay me first, that's where that red flag should take off. That's where you should go, oh, I've never had to do that before. Why would I do that now? So that's number 3.
Okay.
Number 4 are the romance scams. So nowadays there's a lot more websites out there for older adults that are widowed, or older adults that are divorced. So these scammers get on these sites and they set up fake profiles. And what they'll do is they'll take those profiles and they'll go out and they'll try to get as many people on the hook as they can. And then they're going to interact with that person on a very intimate level, not in person, but just on an emotional level. And once they know they have that emotional hook set, then they're going to start asking for things. They're going to start asking for things like laptop computers. They're going to start asking for things like gift cards, checks, access to your computer. And as soon as they get those things, they'll keep asking for more, and until that person is dry, And I've had these scams that are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars from people that lose their entire life savings.
Someone they think is their fiance or going to be there. But do they talk on the phone? Is it all email?
They talk on the phone, they do video chatting, but generally they never meet in person. And the reasons they never meet in person is one excuse after the next excuse after the next excuse after the next excuse. So there's always that, oh, I was going to get on the plane, but oh, this happened to me, so I can't. Oh, I had this medical emergency, so I can't. And they just keep adding up. And so you start to see it, if they're asking you to buy stuff for them and they're never willing to meet in person, that should be a red flag.
That is horrible.
It is horrible.
And do people, I hate to say fall for it, do people truly fall for it? Or is there a point where they think, I haven't actually met this guy now for 6 months. Maybe it's time to...
I think there's a certain level, everybody's got that little voice in the back of their head that says, God, this just doesn't feel right.
Right.
But that desire to have a companion, especially when you're lonely, just overrides that voice. And sometimes it overrides it so bad that by the time you're so deep in, they're either embarrassed to tell anybody, or they're completely out of money at that point in time. So having a trusted person, a grown child or a neighbor to talk to is a good thing, so you can run that stuff by them.
I think that's sort of heartbreaking, actually.
It is. It's very heartbreaking. But the next scam, not quite as heartbreaking, is the tech support scam. So many people will receive emails on their phones, on your laptop computer, your desktop computer, or they'll even receive phone calls from Microsoft. You'll get somebody on the phone that says, hey, this is Microsoft. We detected a virus in your computer. And much like the IRS, Microsoft never, ever calls anyone at all, ever. I don't think they call Bill Gates. So they'll never call you about something. And what they're going to ask for is a payment eventually to some type of software that's going to fix your computer. It's never a fix. It's usually them installing some type of program that lets them see all your bank accounts. And so if they say they're from Microsoft, they're lying. Or if they say they're from some other agency, I want to fix your computer, absolutely not. Take it to your local repair place. If you think something's wrong with your computer and you believe them, don't let them touch it. Take it to your local repair place. Best Buy's Geek Squad, the local repair shop down the street here. Those are great places to take it.
Computer repair
right downtown.
Tavis, I had a computer screen come up that was horrifyingly scary about, we are taking over your computer. It was in red. And if you don't do such and such. Now, I knew enough to not do anything, but it was really, really scary. And I turned off the computer, and my husband told me to go down to Pat's, and I did, and he turned the computer back on and it was gone. And he said that he has seen hundreds of those that would all of a sudden like take over your computer, and you can't unfreeze it, you can't get out of it unless you turn it off. And I didn't know enough to turn it off and then turn it back on again. Those things are really scary when they happen, especially if you're my age and you're not, Mrs. Techno.
Yeah, and the best thing you could have done was turn off your computer
And go to Pat's computer
yes,
repair.
and take it to somebody that you trust.
Yeah.
And there's a misnomer that people who get viruses, you have to go to a bad place on the internet, and that's certainly not true. You can be going on Facebook and something like that can happen. It happens anywhere, but turning off your computer and taking it to somebody you trust, be it a family friend, a relative, or some type of business, is really your best route.
Okay.
So the next scam that we're talking about is the grandchild scam. And that sounds kind of strange, but again, we're targeting a generation that's trusting. We're targeting a generation that wants to do the right thing. So generally what happens, you're going to get a phone call, and it's either going to be from your quote-unquote grandchild or an attorney that says he's or she is representing your grandchild. Generally it's Tommy or Susie has been arrested, but other times it can be Tommy or Susie is in the hospital for something and they need to pay a huge deductible. But basically what they're going to do is they're going to try to evoke that emotional response to a grandparent, and they want you to act quick. I want you to Western Union money. And I'm pretty sure most people haven't done any type of Western Union recently. It's still a legitimate business, just it's not that common. So they're going to evoke that emotional response, and they want people to go out and I want you to send $2,500 for bail money so little Bobby or Susie can get out of jail. Best thing you can do is, again, slow everything down. Once we slow everything down, we verify that statement. I'm pretty sure you probably know how to get a hold of one of your grandchildren, be it through a relative or a direct call to them. Slow down and verify it. The person on the phone is going to be very upset, and you just got to accept that okay, I understand that you're upset and you want that money now, but I need to call somebody first. That's going to prevent a lot of those scams.
Tavis, when this happened to my friend's mother-in-law, it was a grandnephew from Colorado who called, and she hadn't talked to him frequently. And he, in a very sobbing way, said he was in jail in South Carolina because he had driven cross country. And he begged her not to tell his parents who lived near her, because they would be angry at him, they would not bail him out, they'd make him learn a lesson and stay in jail. He did all the right things and wanted her to send $10,000 down to this jail to get him out. Begging, again, don't tell mom and dad, please, they're going to, So she did what was asked. And then shortly thereafter, the attorney called. And he said, I know that, I'd forgotten his name, Joe is out of jail now, but now he's got to go to court because it was a car accident. He hit somebody in a car. And you need to send money. But I want you to do it in gift cards because it's easier for us to use. So she went to Home Depot and bought $6,000 worth of gift cards. Nobody stopped her, and sent them in a shoebox down to this guy who had, and this went on more than once. It was another charge because now he had to go to court, and now there's a lawyer fee and all of this stuff. The woman lost just an immense amount of money until a daughter finally saw her account and said, what's going on? And they called the police. When the police came, they called the nephew. She had never done that. And he said, no, I'm in residency or whatever. I'm in Colorado and I'm really busy. So no, I haven't been in North Carolina.
Yeah, that trusting and verifying, you can trust what they heard the person on the phone, but verify it.
But I think that people also then feel embarrassed and don't want to admit to family members.
And that's difficult, and that's usually one of the biggest hurdles that we get, is because the sooner we get that information, the better chance we can to act upon it and to maybe chase down those evidentiary cookie crumbs to try to find a bad guy. But when it comes 6 months later, it's much more difficult for us to do that. But that embarrassment, I think that's a very natural human instinct. And I know that all the officers that I work with, they understand that, and they're sympathetic to it too, that we understand this is embarrassing. But we're going to get past that, and we're going to try to help you out the best that we can.
Good.
So that is what your friend experienced is pretty commonplace. We've seen those types of scams, and the first red flag is gift cards. As soon as somebody wants a payment in gift cards, even above and beyond everything else, as soon as somebody asks for a payment in gift cards, they just gave you the biggest gift ever. Because as soon as they say gift cards, you now know that's a fraud, that's a scam.
Okay.
So anytime somebody's asking you for a gift card, that really is a gift to you, because you can say, nope, you're a scammer, you want a gift card, and you can hang up on them and be very confident that everything that they just said was a complete and utter lie. Yes.
Okay, all right.
So number 7 is the IRS scam. During the COVID crisis here, we've moved out our tax date to the 15th of July. So we're going to start seeing those amp back up here in a little bit. But basically an IRS scam can be one of two things. It can be the IRS calling you, again, they don't call, and saying, hey, you owe us money. This is how much you owe us, pay us. And again, if they say gift cards, you guys know what to do now. But the other one is identity fraud. So sometimes your information has already been compromised. Once that information is compromised, somebody can file a false tax return as well. Then there's instructions on the IRS website on how to take care of that.
Have you seen that happen here in Hudson?
I have, yeah. I've seen it plenty of times. And people call and say, I went to go file my taxes, and it says right here, I've already filed my taxes. But all of a sudden, the address to which the account is supposed, or the check is supposed to be mailed, is completely out of state. The IRS has taken steps to try to curb this identity theft and fraud, but it still happens. So that's kind of the two different scams that we're seeing as far as the IRS is concerned.
Is it something we've done as people to allow were we not careful enough with our identities in terms of the IRS, or is it just hacking?
No, it's nothing that you've done. You've not done anything wrong. Most people's information at one point in time is going to be exposed. It's a new world that we live in. So just shopping at a major box store, and you sign up for a rewards program, your information can be leaked. The Equifax hacks a few years ago leaked a lot of very personal information, and that's out there. So being vigilant on your credit reports and just kind of knowing where your finances are and doing the once a year credit check. Personally, I recommend locking your credit all the way down the time.
I froze mine.
Yep.
All 3.
That's the best way you can do it. And then just know that if you're going to go out and you're going to make a significant financial purchase that would require credit, it's locked. You have to unlock it beforehand. And once you're done, you lock it back up. That gives you a peace of mind that you don't have to worry about it.
Do you recommend that for everybody?
That's my personal recommendation.
Good.
And it does curb some of that.
Good.
But it gives you a peace of mind too. So we kind of briefly talked about it. The next number 8 is just ID theft in general, which we just talked about. Your information's out there. Somebody can open up a credit card in your name if your credit's not locked or if you're not monitoring your credit report. So it is kind of a scam, but it's not necessarily something that somebody's going to directly interact with you on.
Let me ask a question. Do you see those, I don't know what you call them, it starts with an S, where they put a little thing inside where you swipe your credit card? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Those are skimmers.
It can lift, what'd you call them?
It's called a skimmer.
Skimmer, yeah. Have you had any interaction with that kind of thing, or is that very uncommon anymore?
It's not, they're still around. They're not as common as everybody thinks they are.
Okay.
We've seen them in Ohio. I've seen a handful of cases within the last year, none of which have been here in Hudson.
Oh, good.
They've just been in the general area.
Okay.
So occasionally I'll get a victim who says my credit card was skimmed somewhere, but it's rare.
I don't know if I'd know if my credit card was skimmed. So, all right.
Number 9 is a debt collection, similar to the IRS. And they're calling and they're saying, if you don't pay, we're going to send the police after you. We do not, any law enforcement agency, we do not collect debt. So I don't care if they say, you owe us this money, I'm going to call, there's an arrest warrant out for your arrest. We never collect debts. So that is something that's very common. Again, older trusting people are scared when they hear, oh no, they're going to arrest me because I only have to, if I have to pay this $200, then I'll just be done with it. Nobody has to know. But again, much like your friend, once you pay the $200, another phone call or email will come. And then another one after that, and another one after that, because they know they have a person that will be willing to pay.
Yeah.
So that's the debt collection. And then last but not least is just general elder financial abuse. And that can range from family members that abuse their elders, caretakers, cleaning personnel. And it really comes down to having a person that you trust to manage your finances. So while we're still young and sharp of wit, we want to think about a person that we would trust with our finances, that we would trust that if they had complete control of our finances, they would have our best interest in mind.
And they'd be making the right decisions.
Correct. So if all of a sudden a large dollar amount was withdrawn from our checking account, they could go, wow, that's kind of strange. Usually they only go to the hair salon, they get lunch and maybe go to the library and maybe
Groceries.
Target. Yes, this is very strange, and they can stop it before anything bad happens. So those are the top 10.
Do you think clerks in stores are more savvy now about stopping or making a comment to older people who are buying lots of gift cards? I think it was Chief Tabak who said that there was a person at a Target, a clerk at a Target store nearby here who was noticing an older couple buying like $10,000 in gift cards and called the police.
They are certainly more savvy. The stores are doing a better job training their clerks that if somebody's coming in, especially an elderly couple, and they're buying multiples of thousands or $500 cards at a time, they will at least ask them what's going on. I don't know that they can prevent them from purchasing them, but they can at least alert them. And yes, that we had a local case where even after talking to the police and telling them that, look, this is a scam, stop doing it right now, the person called back and they were so threatening and so intimidating that they got them to go back and do it again. But thankfully there was a clerk that was savvy and prevented some financial loss. They stopped it a little bit, but it still happens. And I can't stress enough how much these scammers are threatening and how intimidating they can be, and they really want to put that pressure on you. But you just got to slow things down. You got, if somebody's asking you for a lot of money, you need to risk offending somebody. Slow it down, and we trust. Maybe we can trust what they say, maybe we can't, but at least let's verify it.
Do you recommend that when family members or the person, probably not the person, but family members notice a large amount of money suddenly disappearing and the elderly person is saying, well, I was going to pay for repairs or something, that the police get involved in all these cases? Is it good to have you guys in on the ground floor, so to speak?
That's a decision for the family. We would love to be able to help and to investigate, but it's really a family decision. If they decide that they want to bring the police in, they can bring the police in, and we are more than willing to help.
God, I could sit here for another hour, and I'm sure you couldn't, but I would. This is just a fascinating subject to me. All right, we've got about 5 minutes left. Let's talk about sort of the final. What would you advise me, Heidi, age 67?
So if I had to kind of give you some general rules that we just take away, as I stated before, the number one thing to look out for: nobody legitimately will ever ask you to pay in gift cards. Not Apple, not Microsoft, not the IRS. Nobody will ask for gift cards that is legitimate in nature. So if somebody asks you to pay with a gift card, automatically, again, that person is lying. So if somebody's asking you for a gift card, that is the best gift they can give you as soon as they ask for that, okay? The second is we never give out personal information. And I know that seems kind of commonplace. Okay, but again, they're very convincing. The scammers have done this many times. They're going to be looking for that personal information, maybe a banking account number. Maybe you didn't give them their name, but you You gave them what bank that you bank with. We give them no personal information over the phone. Unless you're calling your bank and they're asking for it, but you knew the number you dialed. Anytime somebody's calling you, we never give personal information. Again, I think it's very important to slow things down. Scammers are looking to pressure you into making a very quick decision. Because most of us, once we slow down, we start thinking about it and going, that's not right. The scammers do not want you to slow down. They want to rush you to the local store. They want you to purchase those gift cards. They want you to wire that money to that grandson that you haven't called yet. That's how they make their money. So rule number 3, you need to just slow things down. As far as technology is concerned, keep things up to date. That's about the easiest I can say it. If you have a cell phone, especially a smartphone, there's features in there. Have somebody show you to do automatic updates. On your computer, set it to automatic updates. That way you have the most up-to-date software, the most up-to-date apps, and they're less prone to being hacked, if you want to call it, or compromised. And then finally, a trusted person. Again, we spoke of it briefly. While we have our wits with us, find that person that you trust. And again, that you would trust to make those sound financial decisions that maybe you couldn't one day, or that
I can
will be
bounce
alert.
things off of and just say, look at this. Does this look funny to you? And they,
Absolutely.
you know,
as
my daughter's
we,
a big help with that.
Absolutely. And as we get more advanced in age, things slip through the cracks, and we just, I forgot if I paid that or not. I'll just pay it again, or I'll pay it again. And you have that person just kind of as your safety net to catch those things.
Yeah.
So those would be my 5 takeaways here. But again, slow things down, and nobody ever pays with gift cards.
Tavis, if I hadn't believed that, every now and then there'll be something in the police report about scams, and if I hadn't heard it from my friend, it's hard to believe that it's happening as much as it is, but
All the time.
it is.
Absolutely. So,
Thank you so much.
and tell friends, absolutely. Tell friends the same things. You have friends out that maybe haven't seen it. Tell them not to pay in gift cards.
Yeah. Oh, God, yes. All right. This is north of 60. There's some warnings here, so I do hope you're paying attention, and you can always reach the Hudson Police Department. We'll make sure that their non-emergency number is on the air after this show. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.